After 25 years, we finally see Rocks D Xebec's 20 billion berry crew face off against Garp and Roger. The Celestial Culling games have started, where the people being hunted are referred to as rabbits, with 13 special ones being worth 10,000 points and another 150 considered rare rabbits. Also, 360 no-scopes and one-shot kills, they're gonna get you bonus points, so keep that in mind as you play. Which Shanks' father, Garling Figureland, is about to take full advantage of to win this whole thing. But this competition looks busted as we are shown the other knights representing different celestial families. Amongst them is a masked man with 46 written on it, a guy with puffy hair, and a dude representing the family of Manmaya. Funnily enough, we have seen the masked guy before when Mother Caramel and her lamb house was introduced, but it's likely that it's not the same kid, as Big Mom probably ate him. But since Mother Caramel was working for the government, the mask could be a hint towards some of the members of the God Knights being these brainwashed orphan kids. Perhaps after you prove yourself in CP0, your promotion is to the God's Knights. It makes sense that most celestial families have these soldiers represent them because we have seen how most of them live. Of course, some of them might find excitement in combat and gaining strength like Garling, but most families consist of good-for-nothings like Saint Charlo. So what does that family do? Well, they have these soldiers fight for them. It's almost like sponsoring an athlete. Amongst these players, there can only be one winner. But why did we see 6 devil fruit boxes last chapter? It would be pretty lame for the champion to receive the same prize as the 2nd or the 6th place guy, right? So it's possible he will be awarded the strongest fruit or even a rarer prize, a treasure the Celestials took from the Rocks Pirates Island in full elite, as we are told by Kong about their last field trip. This trip has poked the beehive, and the Rocks Pirates have shown up in full force to God Valley. However, Garp couldn't care less. He's on vacation with the baddies, so they should leave him alone. But as soon as Kong utters Garp's boyfriend's name, Roger, bro jumps up in joy and he is on his way.
Hell, it's about time.
Meanwhile, back in God Valley, Ivankov summarizes the situation to the other slaves, the final verdict being that none of them were meant to survive in the first place. The celestial dragons were always going to end up killing the slaves, and the only reason they gave them a sliver of hope was so that the game would become more fun for them. To survive, the only choice is to escape the island, and conveniently, Ginny has a plan. They have to steal the treasure chests, as they hold the devil fruit of the Azure Dragon that we know is Kaido's fruit, as well as the pawpaw fruit. Only with the help of these devil fruits do these slaves have a chance of escaping. How would a bunch of kid slaves be able to pull off a heist such as this? Well, that's where Ginny's convenience hockey comes into play. She is a master at theft and communication and had already sent out a signal to the outside world of the tournament's location with the prizes available. This would make any wannabe pirate try and gain these incredible powers. Meanwhile, the slaves were going to steal the fruits during the ensuing chaos that was about to unfold. So Kuma volunteers to play as bait so that Ginny could end up stealing the fruits. However, the Rocks Pirates land at the shores of God Valley.
Oh my god! Okay, it's happening! Everybody stay calm!
We see Whitebeard, Shiki, Big Mom, Kaido, Stussy, Captain John, Gloriosa, Wang Xi, and other big-named pirates under one flag, the Rocks Pirates. However, Whitebeard stating that he's not a subordinate of Rocks further proves our point that the entirety of the Rocks Pirates came under one flag for a specific purpose, and that was to go against the authority of the world government. There was no respect or love for each other. They all had one specific goal. Rocks wanted to become the king of the world, while Kaido hated the world government for trying to enslave him as a kid due to his race and strength. Even Whitebeard's home country was invaded by pirates on a regular basis, as they were too poor to pay tribute to the world government for protection. As for Lin, who at this point had 30 kids. Wait. He had 30 kids. Yo, she belongs on the streets, bro. Big Mom's goal was to create a utopia without prejudice from the Celestials and world government. Remember old Miss Buckingham telling Weevil about his daddy? Well, she might not actually be wrong at all, because turns out Whitebeard raised her up. I mean, look at them. They seem more like a couple than you and your right hand. Furthermore, we see a young Gloriosa.
Who?
Y'all don't remember the old ex-empress of Amazon, Lily?
Who?
Well, turns out she used to be part of the Rocks pirates and was in love with Rocks. In chapter 522, Gloriosa had stated that every Kuja pirate empress goes through a situation called the love sickness. The way love sickness works is that each empress falls in love at some point in their life with a man, but due to the nature of Amazon Lily, the man ends up leaving the country. The pain the empress feels after separation is usually suppressed within them and is extremely high to a point that it ends up killing them. The only cure is to leave with the man they fell in love with. Furthermore, Hancock left with Luffy to impel down when she had this sickness, and Shiki ended up with Rayleigh, but what about Gloriosa? Well, for her, it was Rocks. After the death of Rocks on God Valley, she had to move on, so the sickness lifted from her, allowing her to return back to Amazon Lily and become an elder consultant to the then Empress, likely being Shiki. Gloriosa being in love with Rocks gives us a lot of hints towards his character, especially coupled with how Whitebeard calls him an idiot who will lose sight of their main goal. This kind of reminding me of someone. Yo, is he Luffy? It makes sense that Luffy and Rocks would have things in common as they both tread the same path of liberation. This is similar to how Kaido and Big Mom both had things in common with Luffy. Big Mom's Totoland was without discrimination and hardship, something that Luffy preaches. Kaido's crew were extremely loyal to him, like with King and Ulti, and he was waiting for Joy Boy's liberation. But they both had flaws in their ideals, with Big Mom taking the lifespan of her people for her own selfish gain, and Kaido, well, bro saw everyone weak as slaves who don't deserve anything. So Rocks might have similar mannerisms to Luffy, but they have glaring differences. The main one being Rocks wanting to be a king or conqueror of the world. That is how he wants to bring liberation, which is something Luffy has stated time and time again he will never do. We also get a glimpse at the Rocks pirates dynamic as a crew where they will steal the devil fruits themselves and whoever finds it keeps it. This very dog-eat-dog attitude is the reason for the flaw in the Rocks pirates, as when in battle, every man is for themselves. They don't fight as a unit, but rather as individuals with their own goals and desires. The only one who seems to have a brain is Whitebeard, who says that they need to stay focused as their main objective is to recover the treasure stolen from Full Elite Island. Now, what could this treasure be? Well, the prime candidate will have to be the egg we see on Roger's ship during the Ed War 9 years later. The main reason for this egg being the treasure of Full Elite is to do with the name of the current arc being Egghead. What is the most distinctive feature of Full Elite Island? A giant pirate skull structure in the middle. So the Celestial stealing a one-of-a-kind egg from inside the head fits the whole theme here. Furthermore, after the God Valley incident, the Rocks pirates were no more, so the only possible candidates to retrieve it after the battle is Roger or Garp. And this chapter proves Garp cares for nothing other than fighting Roger. You know, he's not gonna care about no egg. It's also possible that after the Roger pirates disbanded, Wang Shi grabbed this prize back to Full Elite and guarded it with all his life until 2 years ago when Blackbeard subsequently defeated him and took over. However, Roger and Garp have arrived to f shit up. The Celestial Dragons order the Marines to protect them, but Garp is having none of it. Man just wants a piece of Roger. Before Roger was mentioned, Garp wanted to do nothing with protecting the Celestials, showing us that the allegations of him supporting slavery are all wrong. He was just there to deal with Roger and got caught up in it all. Their rivalry at this point was at its peak, as both of them were at their prime and absolute strongest. It's noteworthy to see a younger Roger who looks a lot like Ace in his 20s with the straw hat on his back. We also get a hint at why Roger was at God Valley. He says that he has been waiting for this moment for a year, while Scopper Gabon mentions Roger not being able to use the captain card again to call dibs right now. This almost sounds like this isn't the first time Roger and the Rocks pirates have fought against each other. Also, Roger specifically saying how he has been feeling for a year is referring to his exploits 39 years ago when he reached the final island, Lodestar, and understood the significance of the poneglyphs. So it's possible Rocks and Roger butted heads on the final island, and this treasure that's been stolen has to do something with the history of the world. Perhaps even a poneglyph, or the egg is an ancient weapon. But there is another party who wants to join the fight in Garling Figarland. This further proves that he was the one who gave Whitebeard the scar he mentioned to Shanks in chapter 431. Using the commotion, Ivankov and Kuma acquire the devil fruits, but right before Ivankov can take a nibble off the Azure Dragon, Big Mom attacks him and steals the fruit. Ivankov immediately screams at Kuma to eat the fruit without thinking, as even if he saves himself, it would be a victory to all the slaves that lost their lives there. However, right after Kuma eats the fruit, he's attacked by none other than Saint J. Garcia Saturn. Garcia notes that the Buccaneers are only allowed to live and die as slaves, as it was decided through the course of history due to the sin they committed. We know that going against the world government and celestial dragons who are self-proclaimed gods is considered a great sin. Many ancient races have sinned against the gods, such as the Lunarians and now even the Buccaneers. We have stated before that these races had fought against Emu and the world government alongside Joy Boy and were then exterminated for it. The biggest sin to the world government is of course going against them, which Kuma has done just by existing as a slave. But Kuma questions this notion, saying that how can someone be less or more important just by being born? If you are born as a slave, what's the point in being born at all? As to live is to have freedom, so Kuma wants to liberate as many people as he can, just like With the Gorosei hearing the N-word, he goes absolutely mental, saying that is the reason for why Kuma must be cancelled, furthering the notion that the sin committed by these races is to do with helping Joy Boy. Maybe each of these races, like the Buccaneers, were part of his crew. It's possible that the Buccaneers were the ancient clan that built the Noah to help Joy Boy in saving the fishmen. This task would have been considered a great sin against the world government. Joy Boy always had help from different races and clans during the Void Century. The Kozukis helped in scripting the poneglyphs. Lily and the Nefertari family helped in distributing the poneglyphs. The Lunarians must have fought side by side with Joy Boy because of their high defense and dexterity, and now the Buccaneers built the Noah as shipwrights. This could even prove that Frankie was a Buccaneer. Think about it. How was Frankie able to augment himself so easily as a child? While it took decades of research, Kuma's Buccaneer and King's Lunarian DNA to create the pacifistas for Vegapunk, the most genius man in the entire world. Also, it's very curious that Kuma is chopping wood. Perhaps the Buccaneers helped in building Noah by chopping down the tree of Adam, or like a giant tree. They were basically the providers of the wood. But before Garcia could do some major damage, Kuma saves Ivankov, Ginny, and the rest of the slaves using the pawpaw fruit by sending them to Sorbet Kingdom in the South Blue. This is the same kingdom Kuma is said to be the ruler of, and a tyrant at that. But can you imagine this sweet little kid becoming an evil tyrant? Like, of course not. This is some government propaganda, bruh. Get this shit off my screen. Kuma, Ivankov, and Ginny take shelter in a nearby church and end up calling that place their new home. Eventually, one fine day, Ivankov decides to move on, but Ginny stays behind, living with Kuma, as she probably fell in love with him at this point. It is here that Kuma starts selling wood, like we see from an old SBS drawing that Oda made of him as a kid. He was also often mistreated by the other kids for his giant size, but Ginny always defended him. Here, we see another glimpse of Kuma following in Nika's steps, as he later befriends these bullies who would go on to be part of Bonnie's crew in the future. Kuma and Ginny then live happily ever after. But if you guys want to know more about the God Valley incident and like what the matchups were and how like Dragon was also there, then watch this video where we explain the entire life of Monkey D. Dragon and even figured out his fruit.